Every story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from our Lagos studios. I am Abosedi Omowi, and here are top stories tonight. Many thanks for joining us. Now the news in full. President Muhammadu Buhari says in furtherance of his administration's ongoing war against corruption, Nigeria will soon begin the full implementation of the principles of the Open Contracting Data Standard. President Buhari made this pledge today during the country's statement to the Anti-Corruption Summit hosted by Prime Minister David Cameron of Britain. He discloses that the federal government will apply the Open Contracting Data Standard to major projects in the oil, transportation, power and other sectors. The Open Contracting Data Standard, OCDS, enables disclosure of data and documents at all stages of the contracting process by defining a common data model. The OCDS ensures greater transparency in public contracting and can support accessible and in-depth analysis of the efficiency and integrity of the systems. President Buhari also welcomed a proposal to restrict the ability of those involved in corruption to travel, invest, and do business overseas. Still on corruption matters, President Muhammadu Buhari has blamed the international community for ignoring the fight against corruption for too long, emphasizing the need to step up action to tackle the menace of corruption. The president disclosed this at the opening plenary session of the Anti-Corruption Summit holding in London. Speaking on the importance of the summit, Prime Minister David Cameron says he is embittered by a situation where countries which have rich natural resources cannot use it for the benefit of the people. The British Prime Minister called on countries to get committed to a transparent procurement process and code of conduct, adding that an international anti-corruption centre will be set up in London for asset recovery legislation by participating countries. Also, the United States Secretary of State, John Kerry, described corruption as a battle that should be fought as an enemy. And the second regional security meeting to consolidate efforts for regional peace and development has commenced in Abuja. Discussions at the summit will focus on intelligence on the location and rescue of the over 200 abducted Chibok girls and an implementable action plan for the joint fight against insurgency in the African region. Presidents of 4 member countries of the Lake Chad Basin will be attending the summit, as well as representatives of other neighboring African countries, the European Union, the United States and the British government. The multinational Joint Task Force commander has drawn the attention of member states to the need for improved allowances for the troops and purchase of equipment for detecting and destroying IEDs. Meanwhile, the Executive Secretary of the Lake Chad Basin Commission has asked member states to begin to fix attention on developmental programs which will address the root causes of insecurity in the region. Let's now talk about the hike in fuel palm price. The Nigeria Labour Congress has rejected the removal of subsidy by the federal government. In a statement signed by the General Secretary of the NLC, Peter Ozoeson, the labor union describes the action as the heights of insensitivity and impunity, vowing that it shall be resisted by the Nigeria Labour Congress and its civil society allies. The statement adds that the latest increase is the most audacious and cruel in the history of product price increase, as it represents not only about 80% increase, but it is tied to the black market exchange rate. It says the process through which government arrived at this is both illogical and illegal, as the board of the PPRA was not duly constituted. The labor union is therefore calling on the government to revert the prices to what they were, adding that already an emergency NEC meeting has been scheduled for Friday, May 13, 2016, to decide on the next line of action. Still on the matter, the recent removal of subsidy for premium motor spirit, also called petrol, by the federal government continues to generate reactions from Nigerian workers under the auspices of the Joint Action Front. At an impromptu press briefing on Thursday, the group expresses total rejection of the federal government's deregulation of petrol palm price, while it calls on Nigerians to resist the new price regime. Victoria Solomon has more in this report. We'll bring you that report in our subsequent bulletins. Nigerians are continuing to react to the removal of fuel subsidy, which ultimately has led to astronomical rise in the cost of fuel in all the filling stations across the country. While some see the move as a welcome development, others are quick to condemn it, saying it clearly shows insensitivity on the part of the government. Correspondent Emmanuel Ihijene has been roving the streets of Abuja to feel the pulse of residents of the Federal Capital Territory. And even in other parts, reactions have been greeting the decision by the federal government to hike the price of fuel from 86 naira 50 kobo to 145 naira. Our group, the United Action for Democracy, is calling on the federal government to immediately reverse the palm price to its former price or face dire consequences from Nigerians. The national convener of the group, Baba Aye, says the new price is totally anti-people and one capable of institutionalizing poverty in the country. The national leadership of the Labour Party has expressed shock and displeasure over the increase in the price of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, by the federal government. In a statement signed by the national chairman, Abdulkadir Abdulsalami, and the national secretary, Julius Abure, the party describes the new price for PMS as unwarranted, unnecessary, and unacceptable. It hints that the recent development has shown that President Muhammadu Buhari has no new and innovative solutions to the plethora of challenges confronting Nigeria, as he is yet to fulfill his promise to Nigerians for better life, availability of products, and building of new refineries. The party warns that the current increase portends grave implications for Nigerians and vows to resist the increase in conjunction with the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and its allies. And now the National Association of Nigerian Students is condemning in strong terms the hike in fuel price announced on Wednesday. The national president of the association, Tijani Shehu, says the hike will increase the suffering of the Nigerian student across the country. The association is urging the federal government to alleviate the hardship of the Nigerian student and make life affordable. Well, still on the issue of the removal of fuel subsidy, the recent removal of subsidy for premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, by the federal government has been greeted with mixed reactions. as most Lagos residents are least surprised by this development. The new price of 145 naira per litre, set by the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency (PPPRA) and announced by the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Ibe Kachiku, has immediately taken effect in all fuel stations visited by CoreTV News across the state. Akiobakeye sampled opinion and filed in this report.
The long queues at filling stations in most parts of the nation over the last 6 months has been because of scarcity of the commodity. However, with the announcement of the new price regime and fuel stations' immediate reflection of the same on their meters, the queues have suddenly disappeared. Most Lagos residents, surprisingly, are not surprised at the news of the removal of fuel subsidy, as they say citizens can now at least enjoy the availability of fuel.
It is long overdue. It would have happened during the past administration, but unfortunately Nigerians rejected it. But thank God it's here, and we have no option.
But let the fuel be available, my brother. That is basic. At least the price is so much high now, but it's not supposed to be a 6.5 that we are buying. At least, but if the fuel will be available, at least it's more preferable than queue and stress that we are encountering.
It's what we need, since there is plenty of queue, and you know, some people, they have so many means of circumventing the government real price.
We all ask for change, but this is not the change we are expecting. This is not how we expect things, because already a lot of things are going wrong in this country. And I think it's high time for Nigeria to stand up and fight for their rights.
Station manager of an NNPC mega station believes Nigerians will enjoy the move by the federal government in no distant time.
If Nigerians can join hands with the government and the people are sincere, we are going to get the best from this policy.
Barely 24 hours of the announcement of the new price regime to 145 naira for PMS by the Minister of State for Petroleum, Ibe Kachiku, virtually all stations in Lagos are currently selling at that price. Now, the question of availability comes to mind, as most Nigerians prefer availability irrespective of the price. Akiobakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
And just when Nigerians were coming to terms with the new electricity tariff and lingering fuel scarcity, the federal government announced the removal of subsidy, pegging the price of premium motor spirit at not more than 145 naira per litre. The decision has been generating reactions among Nigerians, many of whom expressed their disappointment in the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government. The issue of the hike in fuel price took center stage on our flagship program called Digest, where analysts decried the decision of the federal government. Okay, we'll also bring you that in just a moment. Now, the Transition Monitoring Group, TMG, has demanded the immediate resignation of the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and the Chief Executive of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Ibe Kachiku, over the hike of the price of petrol. In a statement issued on Thursday, the TMG says it rejects the 145 naira pump price of petrol imposed by the federal government, adding that the imposition portrays the government as insensitive and out of touch with the daily unbearable plight of the ordinary Nigerian. It says coming at a time when the implementation of the recently signed 2016 budgets is yet to take off, the hike in the face of groan and pain is ill-timed and badly advised. The group says it will join forces with Labour and other activists to resist the hike. And in a swift move, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kachiku, has said Nigerians will be amazed at what will become of the price of premium motor spirit in the next 6 months. Kachiku, speaking to journalists, says the move was necessary in order to put an end to fuel scarcity in the country. The minister says as a result of the decline in government earnings from oil, it could not provide foreign exchange for the importation of fuel. The minister says that if the government did not take the step it took, massive subsidy would continue, adding that there is no foreign exchange for importation. He therefore appeals to Nigerians to give the government a chance, as the price of PMS will go down over the next 6 to 8 months. And now the Nigerian military says it is ready to defend the nation against all forms of attacks in the country. Speaking exclusively with CoreTV News crew in Abuja, the Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Rabi Abubakar, says the victories being recorded by the nation's armed forces so far is a testimony to the fact that there is a renewed vigor injected into the officers and men. General Abubakar advises Nigerians to be extra security conscious and get information on suspected troublemakers immediately across to security agencies.
Smarting for more conquest in the northeast, the military high command is even more determined to push further in its quest to see Nigeria free of insurgency.
War on terror, like when we're being pest, it's an enormous tax. But I'm assuring you that we have done what we're supposed to have done as military.
For a few years, Boko Haram terrorists devastated the north region of the country, killing, bombing, claiming territories. Today, the armed forces is recapturing those territories, making many around the world wonder what was the magic.
Leadership is very important. If you have a purposeful leadership, you get to where you are going. Purposeful leadership, who will give you direction, who will be there with you, who will take your welfare, on top of anything.
Nigeria is again faced with a different kind of terrorism. This time, herdsmen and farmers clashing for grazing territories. Many communities have suffered serious fatalities as a result of these clashes. But the military says it has it under control.
Since he has given directives, and in compliance with that directives, a lot of activities is going on to ensure that we complied fully and respond appropriately and professionally towards curtailing the excesses of these herdsmen.
Defending the nation remains their primary objective, and it is obviously poised to achieve that through the rules of engagement. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
You're watching CoreTV Primetime News. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll bring you more reports. Just stay with us.
VAT, Value Added Tax, is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government is used for funding development. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make your contributions to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Glad to have you back. If you're just joining us, you're watching CoreTV Primetime News, broadcasting live from our Lagos studios. Let's take another look at our top stars. For more on our top stories, all the news and information, kindly visit our social media platforms. Facebook.com/CoreTV News. We urge you to follow on our Twitter handle @CoreTV News NG. And to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space news. Talking politics now, some members of the People's Democratic Party have called for suspension of preparation for the party's forthcoming national convention and a return to the principles and legacies of the founders of the party, saying it will help in restoring its lost glories. Concerned stakeholders of the party also expressed surprise at the failure of its current leadership to learn from experience. Correspondent Kozem Kasali tells us more about the position of these concerned party members.
Are the congresses good? No. Are the plans for the convention good? No. Are we likely to have a new leadership? No. Are they likely to bow out? No. Don't you know of the plans they are making to succeed themselves?
That was a former Minister of Information and Culture and chairman of the Northern Elders Forum of the People's Democratic Party, delivering his keynote address at the PDP stakeholders meeting. According to the former minister, the former ruling party's current leadership must learn from the failures of its past of impunity. However, posited that despite its shortcomings, the party left Nigeria better than it met it.
Midterm change in political reality will not happen because someone, once elected now, is 4 years tenure as chairman. And so when you come to midterm and you want the person to give up because you want things to change, what are you going to give that person?
Former Director General of the PDP Presidential Campaign Organization, Raymond Dokwesi, also added his voice to the mix. The group will, according to some of its top members, continue to work to reposition the PDP. Kozem Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And in Taraba State, former chairman of the People's Democratic Party in the state, Victor Bala, has re-emerged chairman after the state congress. 24 other executives emerged as well to stir the affairs of the party for the next 4 years, promising to give members of the party a benefiting tenure. Members of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, are asking the Federal High Court in Abuja to declare that the arrest and detention of some of their members by the security agents violates their rights as guaranteed by the 1999 Constitution. They made this known through their council, Okere Kingdom, while also demanding 100 million naira compensation to each of their members that were allegedly killed by the army and police personnel during their protest. Moving on from there now to Lagos, the governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, has accepted the offer to raise funds to launch a mobile cancer center for people who require such treatment. Ambode, who spoke at the Lagos House, hosted the Board of Committee Encouraging Corporate Philanthropy, CECP, and says he believes the establishment of the cancer center will be of greater benefit to the people. The governor says he has the intention of making life meaningful to the citizens, as a driving philosophy of his administration is to selflessly serve humanity by lifting people from their challenges. Ambode was quick to acknowledge the initiative of the CECP, describing the group as laudable and selfless for considering to focus on the health sector. Meanwhile, the Minister of Information, Culture and Tourism, Lai Mohammed, has inaugurated the Implementation Committee on the outcome of the recent National Summit on Culture and Tourism, with a pledge to demonstrate the needed political will to put culture and tourism in the mainstream of the economy. The minister assures that the recommendations of the summit, which were the outcome of ideas garnered from experiences, knowledge and painstaking researches of many people, will not be left to gather dust on the shelf. Mohammed says he has realized that the intention for wealth creation has always been there, but that lack of political will remains the stumbling block. The chairman of the committee, Paul Adaliku, in response, assures that the committee will strive to ensure that the recommendations of the summit will boost the government's resolve to harness the potentials of culture and tourism for wealth generation and job creation. Now, talking business, the federal government says it will spend the sum of 93.1 billion naira to feed school pupils and students in the year 2016. Government also plans to spend 35.6 billion naira to construct over 1,900 blocks of 7,068 of housing units in the 6 geopolitical zones and the Federal Capital Territory. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udo Udoma, stated this on Thursday during the presentation of the overview of the 2016 budget and its strategic implementation plan. Moving on from there, the federal government will partner the Czech Republic as part of efforts aimed at developing the nation's infrastructure. The government will also facilitate exchanges and partnership between businesses in Nigeria and the Czech Republic to benefit the economy. Correspondent Kozim Kasali completes the story.
The change that brought the present government to power has led to more interest by other nations and investors willing to invest in Nigeria. The latest of such groups is from the Czech Republic, led by its Minister for Agriculture, Marian Jurashka, to the Power Works and Housing Ministry. In his address to the delegation, Power Works and Housing Minister Babatunde Fashola outlined what the government is doing to ensure that power supply and the nation's infrastructure is improved progressively. He expresses the readiness and openness of the federal government to new ideas and investment, but added that it will be better and more beneficial as partnerships.
It's an opportunity that I believe that we will explore. We have also spoken because of your technological advancement, and he was talking about possibility of financing.
Earlier, the Czech Minister for Agriculture, Marian Jurashka, disclosed that the purpose of his visit to the ministry is to seek a mutually beneficial relationship with Nigeria. The Czech ambassador to Nigeria has this to say on what it means for the relationship between his country and Nigeria.
For the funding, there are different ways. There is the national budget, Nigerian national budget, which prioritize energy, but there is also export financing, export insurance on the Czech side.
A member of the delegation and Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce of the Czech Republic added that the proposed partnership will be targeted at infrastructure.
Responsibility for industry, foreign affairs and export. And as head of the delegation, I can announce we have here the delegation, and there are the companies from machinery.
The delegation also invited the minister to visit the Czech Republic to see for himself, and will also be putting together a business meeting with Nigerian-owned businesses to expand opportunities and partnership between both economies. Kozim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
Let's now go back to that report about analysts decrying the move by the federal government to remove subsidy and peg the price of premium motor spirit at not more than 145 naira per litre.
At first, it was fuel scarcity. Now, it is a removal of fuel subsidy which has caused an increment in the price of premium motor spirit, also known as petrol. While speaking on the new fuel price policy, the chairman, Coalition Against Corrupt Leaders, says it is a blackmail.
So basically, there's no subsidy anywhere. What the regime has done is to disappoint Nigerians on its promises that it's going to make life more abundant for the people. Now, it's going to make life more difficult for the people.
But is the removal of subsidy justified? A human rights activist opines that anything taken fraudulently is not justified except the money spent on other economic issues.
With the same total of the government that we have today, I think what they're supposed to do is to monitor and to see that whatever cover they put into subsidy is well used, is justifiably used and collected.
Callers on the program also share their views.
I think the president campaign 2015 that if it is in power, where will be 55 naira? That's what the campaign. I think what is happening now is a reversal of what you are telling us. People that are out of Nigeria know that actually is the outside people that is benefiting from the fuel that we are selling in Nigeria. So I will plead with Nigerians to deal with Buhari.
It is expectations of Nigerians that the government would consider the masses before making decisions.
The federal government says it would review the current tax laws in the country in order to keep pace with the rapid changes in business practices. It says most of the tax codes in the country have become outdated, adding that with the objective of the government to drive the economy through revenue from non-oil sources, there is need to carry out a thorough review of the tax codes. The Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, who disclosed this while speaking during the 18th Annual Tax Conference of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, says the federal government would work with the National Assembly to expedite action on the review, while it would also critically examine the gross domestic product to align taxes with economic activity in our bid to block all leakages. Well, you're still watching CoreTV Primetime News, reaching you live from our Lagos studios. Still ahead, report from outside Nigeria and from the very interesting world of sports. Join us after this break.
VAT, Value Added Tax, is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government, is used for funding development. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure, like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make your contributions to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Welcome back. You're still watching CoreTV Primetime News, reaching you live from our Lagos studios. Now to report from beyond the shores. Brazil's President Dilma Rousseff has described Senate's decision to suspend her for 180 days as a coup. Addressing the nation in a defiant speech from outside the presidential palace, Rousseff says what hurt her most is her understanding that she's a victim of a legal farce and a political farce. She says when an elected president is suspended because of a crime she did not commit, it is referred to as a coup and not an impeachment. Rousseff says she is proud to be the first woman to be elected president in Brazil and pledges not to give up the struggle against the coup. Rousseff, who's 68 years old, has been in office since 2011. Her suspension comes hours after the Senate voted 55-22 to put her on trial, a decision which will end more than 13 years of rule by the left-wing Workers' Party. And in the United States, Donald Trump and U.S. House Speaker Paul Ryan, the highest-ranking public official from the Republican Party, have pledged to work together despite their differences. The two men held a meeting on Thursday aimed at repairing their breach and unifying a party torn over by Trump's rise to the presidential nomination. The duo issued a statement describing the meeting as a very positive step towards unification that recognizes many important areas of common ground as well as areas where they disagree. And now Syrian and Russian airstrikes have targeted rebel-held areas in Aleppo province, killing and injuring several people as rebels captured a village in Homs province. Monitoring group says the regime warplanes, aided by Russian fighters, targeted several neighborhoods in Aleppo city. No information on casualties is available, but sources say several people were killed and injured. The United Kingdom-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says warplanes targeted Al-Zahra and Al-Masar shortly after the truce ended at midnight on Wednesday. The observatory disclosed that in Saif al-Dawla, a government-held part of Aleppo, at least 3 people were killed, while 10 others were injured in a rocket attack on Thursday morning, adding that the source of the attack is still unknown. Let's now talk sports.
Power style, and that's what he delivered.
And sports reports that disciplinary committee of the Nigeria Football Federation has handed out heavy bans to a few people following its meeting in Abuja on Thursday. Christopher Giwa, Muazu Suleiman, Yahaya Adama, Sani Fema, and Johnson Effiong have been banned from taking part in any football-related activity for a period of 5 years each by the NFF for various breaches. Giwa has been embroiled in a leadership tussle with the current NFF board and took the body to a civil court. An NFF release made available to journalists states that the committee also upheld the league management company's decision to fine Giwa FC 2,750,000 naira and award 3 points to Rangers following Giwa's refusal to conclude a disputed league match. Giwa Football Club also forfeited 3 points and 3 goals to Wiki Tourist for failing to turn up for a league match in Ilorin where Giwa FC were banished to. And now English club Everton have sacked manager Roberto Martinez after 3 years in charge of the team. Martinez's side, 12th in the Premier League, were beaten 3-1 by champions Leicester City on Saturday and lost 3-0 at Sunderland on Wednesday. The club lost in the semi-finals of the FA Cup and League Cup this season. Everton have won just 5 league games at home all season and are guaranteed to finish with the lowest point tally at Goodison Park since the introduction of 3 points for a win in 1981. There have been an increasing number of protests against the 42-year-old Spaniard from supporters at recent home matches. Well, that is it on sports and on CoreTV Primetime News. Before we go, a quick recap of our top stars. That's it on CoreTV Primetime News today. Many thanks to you for watching. I am Abosedi Omowi. Do enjoy the rest of your day.